Yo, yo. Let's see who's gonna get in the building. In the building. The building. Who's gonna get up in the building? The building. All right, y'all. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. See what's going on out here. Peace, y'all. We're gonna get it started. Peace, peace, Baragani. Islam, Salam. Hete Pu, Rahubat. General Laku Ninani, Chief Noble Bandeli Elamine back again in the building on this late night. You know what I mean? We're on this late night tonight. Tonight we're gonna be talking about the ADOS, FBA, and the Moor American or American Moor, however you want to talk about it. We're gonna talk about these three groups, right? And we want to talk about which one seems to have the better platform or the better fit for actual melanated people. Okay, that's what we're gonna get into tonight. Okay. If y'all in the building, please like the video, subscribe. We're gonna get into this. Before we get into this, though, let me see. My man might get on. I'm gonna put the live on the chat. Okay, I'm gonna put the I'm gonna put it on the chat. I'm gonna put it on the room so y'all can get on. Anybody who want to come on the platform, you see what I'm saying? We can talk about it. I'm gonna put the link in there. But I was gonna share. Let me see. Share screen. Share the screen. Cause we gonna get into this. Before we get into any of this, though, let us check this out. All right, let's see. All right, y'all. Before we get into all this, though, check out uh, check out all the books. Right, subscribe to the channel. Check out the books on Amazon. We talking about, like I said tonight. We talking about the ADOS and the FBA. Man, we're gonna talk about those groups and see if they stand up to stuff. Right, to see if they stand up to a certain standard. Okay. Um, in relationship to the Moors, okay? Because as a Moorish American, I'm going to have my perspective. So, but check out the books right here. All the books on Amazon. All right, check out Bandela Elamine books on Amazon. That is that. All right, so let's get into the building. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's get in the building. If you're in the building, like the video, subscribe, all that. Right. All right. So, like I said, I want to talk about the this whole thing going on. Right. I want to talk about ADOS and FBA. These are these new terms that have come up, right? These are new terms that are being used. If you don't know, ADOS is American Descendants of Slavery. Okay. Then you got the FBA, which are the found Americans. Okay. That's what you got going on. So, peace to the guys, yo. Peace AC building. Uh, 8.0, you know what it do. Look, I really want to get into this, man. I want to get into this because this has been on my mind, right? Because we got Tariq Nasheed over, doing the FBA, right? And he sound good. It sound real good, right? I mean, like they talking about a lot of stuff like reparations. So we gonna get into reparations and all that, right? We gonna get into reparations and all that. All right, before let's see, I'm gonna put this in the building. If anybody want to grab on and come on with me, I'm gonna put this the link out here in a minute. Trying to computer the computer want to move slow, but I'm trying to put the link up there, y'all, so we can get into this. If y'all want to come on, anybody want to come on? Uh, all right, let me see. Hold on, bear with me, with me. My computer moving slow. I should have shut it down before I got on. But okay, let's see. Let's get into this. Let's look at what these are, all right? Let's start with what is the FBA. All right. Let's look at FBA. The fundamental a fundamental uh, black American. So I mean, just think about it. That's what it's called. Fundamental. The foundational. I'm sorry, y'all. The foundational Black Americans. Okay, I guess, this is the website. But look at it. Welcome to the foundational Black Americans cultural site. So we talking about these FBAs. What are FBAs, man? What is FBA? It's a foundational Black Americans are the descendants of the Black people. Listen to this. I want y'all to listen to what they saying. Descendants of the Black people who survived one of the greatest atrocities in recorded history, American slavery. Okay, so foundational Black Americans are connected to what they call uh, African American slavery. So now listen to this. It said the FBAs are descendants of the people who built the United States from scratch. Okay, so I do see the premise like they coming with, like, look, he trying to set up the fact that there should be reparations, showing that these black descendants of slaves, their ancestors helped build America from scratch. Okay, so that right there deludes to a setup for reparations. I'm not going to lie, all right? It says, but history does not start in 1619. So this is where I want to get you, y'all, because we know that what is projected to us in the media or whatever, right? They are the ones that push the agenda of black black slavery, blacks history started around 1619 in the Americas, yada yada yada, right? We know that. That's the rule of thumb, if you will. Okay, so look, this is, but now I say the FBA, right? The history of FBA started almost 100 years. He they're saying that now that the FBA history starts, if it wasn't in 1619, they're saying roughly in the 1500s. So like 1519, right? Roughly 100 years, 1519, 1529. Okay, give or take, right? So he's saying that the foundational Black Americans roots started in 15, what we say, 1519 or something, right? You know what I'm saying, right? Hold on, let me go back, man. Are y'all following me, man? Am I making sense? I'm saying that these foundational Black Americans. Hold on, let me take this off. The foundational Black Americans are, their history start in 15 something. Okay, so we have a understanding that their origin starts in the 1500s. So an ADOS person, when they take on that particular title of ADOS, they're linking themselves still back to 15 something. So that's really still within the slave realm, if you will. Okay, we still talking about slave time. So all right, so I'm just saying. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay, I just want to I just want y'all to understand where we are claiming ADOS people, what we're claiming. Listen to the name, African. I mean, excuse me, I'm not ADOS, but foundational black American. Okay, just think about that. Even from like me being a Moor, me understanding more science in that way, that title itself does not, it go against the teaching. You know what I mean? Like, so automatically I'm like, wait a minute, man. Y'all talking about black, so it sound like color. That sound like colorable terms, right? They're using colorable terms in their description, which makes me suspect. Okay, So they say the first documented foreign settlers in the New World of North America were the enslaved black people. The first documented foreign settlers. Okay. Listen to this. Listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's got you going into. The first documented foreign settlers in the New World of North America were the enslaved black people who were brought here, who was brought over by Spanish colonizer in 1526. So we talking about, he's saying that the first ADOS, y'all, the first ADOS, I mean, excuse me, I'm sorry, y'all, my fault. The first FBA, okay, I scratched that. I'm saying the first FBA is 1526. The first FBA is 1526. They're telling you they came on a ship by some Spanish. Now, okay, a Spanish dude, right? And more already, right? I'm just saying, like you got a Spanish guy coming out. He probably was dark. They probably might have even had Moorish in them. I mean, who knew how to get over here? It was Moors. So I'm not, it's like I hear this, but so far what I'm hearing is that it's taking you back to slavery. It's another, I guess, derivative of the terms of slavery. All right, but we gonna, all right. Let me stop preaching. I'm just gonna break. Let's go into this. All right. All right. It says that shortly after, what's that? Alien and the 600 other Spaniards' arrival to the area that would later become South Carolina, Georgia coast, the enslaved black captives launched a successful revolt, forcing a few remaining Spanish enslavers to ultimately retreat from the area back towards the Caribbean. Okay, so okay, okay, what is he saying right here? What is he breaking down right here? He's saying that these early people from 15 something wind up settling in the South Carolina, Georgia coastline, and they launched revolts, which I could believe. And I'm not, that's not saying much. I'm not, I mean, what I'm saying is that's not taken away from what they're doing. I get it. Like there were revolts. These melanated people fought, we fought for, our freedom. Unlike what they tell us, right? Or what they show. So I get, he's giving you a little bit of the fight, okay? But I'm listening, right? So I'm just breaking it down to y'all based on how I understand more science, right? So it was saying the liberated black people amalgamated into the local Native American society. Okay, so all right, this is gonna be a big problem right here for the indigenous people right here, right? This is gonna be a problem for the indigenous people, right? Because indigenous groups that Washita and all them, you see what I'm saying? They are claiming Native American, and they weren't necessarily saying they weren't mixed, but I think the way that this story is saying it was that it's saying that liberated black people kind of mixed in with the local Native American society, amalgamated. So it's like we're black. You see, you see so-called black natives because they amalgamated with them, not necessarily as indigenous people think that they were here already, right? Now, I'm like, we were here before they was here anyway. I mean, as far as not even counting indigenous people yet. We're not even talking about the indigenous people on the land. We talking about Moors and people, Mansa Musa, you know what I'm saying, Mali, even Egyptian Kemetic people have been over here to Americas. So I mean, we're not even talking about that right there. Okay, we just, you know, I just think that, right, as far as I'm listening, he's tying them in a way that is really similar to what they're trying to say anyway about us. They're trying to say that we slaves, that we were slaves, and that we trying to get reparations for that, and we got to be a foundational Black American. Like I don't understand where. Okay, so far I'm not. I'm seeing just parts of this, man. I don't. I'm not. I'm just getting the history of it. Okay, this is the history. It says okay. So it says the since 1526, right? Once again, 1526. The culture of foundational Black Americans has been that of building, resisting, perseverance, and the fight for justice. So I'm just saying, it's written all over this. 1526 is the beginning of ADOS. Like, what was ADOS? I mean, damn, I keep saying it. What was FBA, right? I'm ready. I'm ready to go to ADOS so bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm just ready to go at them, but I'm trying to get through this FBA, right? I'm saying in 1526, the FBA starts, and that's the lineage that we going with, right? As you see right here, right? This is what we going with. Now, I don't know. To me, it's like this kind of like makes me settle. It makes me settle for something. I feel like I'm settling for something to become this, in my opinion, so far. On just from the history of it. Now, I don't know, like as far as the infrastructure is concerned. I know this is Taj Tariq. I mean, not Taj Tariq, but Tariq Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed is kind of the one that's kind of coined the term FBA, right? Uh, so Tariq Nasheed has got a little buzz going, and he's got a, he's been doing good, hitting colors and all that. But like, I will say something about hitting colors. When you watch those old flicks, he was dealing with Moors a lot on that. You know what I'm saying? Like Tariq came out of like Moorish stuff. Like I think Tariq Nasheed, studied that and then tried to figure something that was going to be more palatable to these people out here. You feel what I'm saying? Because a lot of so-called African Americans are so lost in the sauce, still stuck in, like 40s and 50s kind of politics, dealing with the Democrats and the Republicans. They so caught up in that they don't see the other side. Then they know they slave. They know they come from slavery. All the movies we watch come out of slavery. Like all the American movies for blacks, always talking about slavery, right? So now that we got a little bit of understanding of foundational American, I'm gonna slide from there for a minute. All right, we're gonna get back to them. I want to get to the ADOS real quick. If you're on the building, please like the video, subscribe, share the video. Let's get into this. All right, I'm dead ass. I'm dead ass. All right. All right, I'm gonna look at this right here. Let's look at American descendants of slavery. It is a term referring to the descendants. Listen, the descendants of enslaved Africans in the area that would be states. Okay, so I mean, ADOS came first, right? ADOS was here before, I guess, uh, foundational Black American, right? But ADOS, when you listen to this, you're gonna see kind of an overlap, right? In a sense, it's like I don't know, but it says that these is a term enslaved Africans became United States from its colonial period onward and to the political movement of the same name. Both the concept and movement grew out of a hashtag, ADOS, created by Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. Ain't that interesting? Antonio Moore. Whatever. I'm just saying. But look, so, okay, let's back up. All right. It's saying that it's a term referring to descendants of enslaved Africans. So, enslaved African. Now, they are they are deluding themselves to enslave. Like they're referring to descendants of slavery. So is the origins of ADOS going back to slavery as well? Isn't ADOS deluding back to titles of slavery? They're referring to the descendants of the ones that were enslaved who had no title, right? So what you're they trying to it's, it's all for the money though. Okay. Understand that it's all for the money. Now I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if it's worth selling out for the title. Because I mean basically what they're trying to do is get reparations money for being a slave, which I'm not against, but the way it looks is like, okay, we get this money, but the title in which we are using is going to lock us further into a slave type names. I mean, they are deluding to slavery, okay? Which a lot of people are not necessarily not. It's not like we dissing slavery, but we are acknowledging that it's only a part of our genealogy, okay, of our history. It's only a fraction of our history. And so if any time that we want to me, if we're going to stand up on our square, we're going to take names that would delude to some type of history that goes back into a long time, ancient time. You will want to link yourself back to a time when you were part of a sovereign nation, okay? Because they act like African, or especially in North Africa, they act like North Africans and Africans weren't had nations and didn't have treaties with the Europeans, and didn't have treaty like the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. You know, we're gonna mention that the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is one that was to Moors. You know, but I'm not gonna jump into the Moors. But this is I'm giving you an understanding of like what this title, how the titles might limit your ability, your title, your status. These titles that they give you delude to a certain type of status that you'll get when you join on the team and get that money, get that reparations. Now I'm just saying, all right. But let's move. The ADOS movement focused mainly on demanding reparations, see, for the system of slavery in the United States, which I am for. I mean, you know, melanated people did build this, you know, as people, melanated people, you know, ex-Moors, people, whoever here in America that was doing that, we were the first ones here that they, first and second, that was here to help build this up, especially down the South. So I understand that there is a receipt with that, okay? There is a receipt for all that free work. That's got to come back, right? But this group called ADOS gonna get the reparations. And I'm just saying that ADOS is American descendants of slavery. I mean, not American, but African descendants of slavery, right? So what I'm saying is, these African, that's what you're gonna be, an African descendant of slavery. Supporters of the ADOS movement say that they should have their own racial category, okay, on census forms and college applications, and should not be lumped in with other black people, namely black American immigrants to the United States and black immigrants from the Caribbean. So now this is interesting because in a Pan Africanist understanding, you looking at everybody from everywhere as collectively as one group of people, right? That's how Pan Africanist view would kind of come, right? This right here, this is clearly a distinction, right? Which I understand it's a distinction between uh, the Caribbean Americans. So that right there, I think, is political because they don't want Caribbeans to try to come up here and claim reparations on money that they necessarily didn't have. But that's not to say that down in the Caribbean there wasn't slavery and that they could get reparations down in the Caribbean. I think that this is just to say we trying to stop anybody else that's not a certain type of, that black that was here as slaves be able to get in on any money. So I mean, I ain't mad at that, but I mean, it's it's a kind of a divisive in a sense because, like I said, from a Pan Africanist view, it's like all of us came over here. And okay, before I get into it with y'all, I'm not going there with y'all about everybody coming, who came or who didn't come over here. All I'm saying is that these slaves or these people who got enslaved that were here or brought over here, those people that were put into enslavement or servitude, those people is what they're trying to group those people as. Those people, they're just making a distinction. We are not Caribbean though. We talking about America. We talking about the United States. They're specifically for the United States, right? So, um, let's go into this. Look, the American Descendants of Slavery movement was founded by Yvette. Okay, blah blah blah. I want to go into this, right? Now, look, this is the thing. So-called Albions, what you call white people, or whatnot. They say like 75% of those that attended historical black colleges. Uh, what was it? It was something they were saying about. Uh, hold on, I think it's further down. Let me go. Let me finish this up. Okay, it's saying that the ADOS website says that it seeks a new deal for Black America. Okay, now we're talking about Black America, and that title is, like we said, Black. We talking about Black again. But what is Black? Okay, like that Black Americans. What he's trying to do is tie you to the land of America, but from a slave perspective, not from your indigenous perspective. That's the problem. It's like he's trying him and like not him, but Yvette and them with the ADOS is doing the same thing that Tariq Nasheed is doing with the FBA. They're trying to distinguish so-called Black United States citizens, right? Really, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about Black United States citizens. That's who he's talking about. Okay, those people they want to protect. ADOS is talking about those people. Okay, now let's look into this. Let's keep going into this. All right. A distinguishing feature of the ADOS movement is an explicit emphasis on Black Americans who descended from slavery and its disagreements with Black immigrants from Africa and the Caribbean. The group demands a new designation on the census. So it's like, okay, they want this name. They don't want to be, it's like every so many years we want to change our name. Like they was, what? I mean, come on now. Y'all know Negro, black, colored. Then it was Afro American, African American. Okay, black. They was black. Now they was black. Now they African American. Now they combining them together. Black American. Or African American. Still, like ADOS ain't nothing but descendants, African descendants of slavery, particularly to the United States. So they're talking to Black Americans, African American. Okay, that's who they're talking to. So it's like they're saying, okay, we about to upgrade your name or whatever to another form of slavery name, right? So let's move on. The ADOS movement leaders say it is nonpartisan. Okay, but look, so there we go. We're gonna get political right here. Carnal and Moore identify as anti-Trump and lifelong what? Democrats. Okay, so we got these ADOS out here who founders has some allegiance to Democrats for whatever reason. They got this lifelong Democrats, anti-Trump, right? Come on, y'all. Check. Let's look. Let's dig deep. However, the group has frequently attacked the Democratic Party and urged black voters to seek an alternative to it. The movement has become a lightning rod for criticism on the left. The pro-Trump and right-wing figures such as Ann and Ali have used the ADOS hashtag. Carter once appeared in a YouTube video in Make America Great Again hat, later saying that it was a joke. The group supporters have been critical of immigrations. So this is interesting, man. This is interesting, okay? I mean, they got their hand. So let's look at it though, y'all. They got their hand in politics, but it's on the Democratic side. I'm just saying, like they got their hand in politics, and they Democrats. So they move through the Democrats, even though it says they critical of them. Ultimately, they use it seems the Democratic side as a vessel. Okay, it says let's go. Moore has criticized the CBS report written by a reporter with a Hispanic surname, asserting that the journalist clearly has a conflicted interest to write the story. Look, man, it says Carnell previously served as a board member of an anti-immigration group, Progressives for Immigration Reform, which is tied to right-wing groups funded by. So it's crazy. This is everywhere, but they really like listen to what they on, being that they against immigration. That is more of a right. It's more of a conservative viewpoint, if I would say. And so for them to side, I don't know what the ADO's doing as far as that, but I mean, I just feel like what I'm looking at still is that you dealing with them and their politics, right? So it says in 2019, some ADOS activists challenged Kamala as her authenticity as a black woman. Now we can get into that, as she is not an African American, which she's not, which she is not. She would not count in a foundational black American. She would not fit into an ADOS, okay? So the vice president, like y'all don't even understand this. It's like they understand that something ain't right, but they going still under this slave stuff because they write about the vice president. You know what I'm saying? The vice president is uh, Jamaican American, to say, right? It says they challenge the authenticity as a black woman, asserting that she is not African American. Harris' father is Jamaican, right? And her mother is what? Y'all, check it out. What is Kamala Harris's mother? Isn't she like Indian? So you got an Indian, okay, and Jamaican, a Jamaican black. So for the foundational people, they cut them off. They're like, nah, she's not even from here. She's not an ADOS, right? So that was a big debate. I'm sure it's been talked about a many a time. But it says that this claim that that black Americans, see, this was of immigrant descent, even from countries with a history of slavery under colonial rule, such as Jamaica, do not share the same struggle against racism and discrimination as the descendants of blacks in America. Now, what do y'all think about that, man? I gotta go back. Look, I'm gonna go back in the chat room. We'll go back in the chat room. Let's see what's going on. I meant to put this up here. Like my computer was moving slow as hell, so I was trying to put this in the chat. If y'all want to come in, anybody want to come in, man? I'm just like I said. I'm going through ADOS, right? I'm going through FBA, y'all. I'm showing y'all what they've built off of, what they are, okay? And I ain't even got to the Moorish stuff, but y'all already know what the Moorish thing is. I'm just trying to get y'all to understand that first, right? So let's look at this though. What's the difference? Let me see. All right, I'm about to add it to the screen. I thought it was on the screen, y'all. All right, I'm about to add. What's the difference? What's the difference? What's the difference between FBA and ADOS? Okay, social media is a hub for political commentary. It has been my go-to for information on grassroots organizations. In the previous post, the now mainstream ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery movement, and their agenda was well addressed. Well, there's another movement somewhat similar to ADOS that's gotten my attention. Foundational Black American. Now look, so this is what he say. Film producer, author, and radio personality Tariq Nasheed, who coined the term, advised that foundational Black Americans refer to one's culture and lineage. Now, it's a very, to me, it's a limited point of culture and lineage. What is the culture? What is their culture as foundational Black Americans? Do they take on? I mean, like, what are they? Are they? Do they take on the African culture? Do they take on the African culture? Right? Do they take on the African culture? Do they take on a? Uh, do they take on a American culture? Like, are they Native Americans? Do they have they? What is a foundational Black Americans culture? Anyway, it says with FBA, you don't have to have a specific political affiliation group, chapters, or events. There's been some discord between the FBA and ADOS. Okay, so now you got, so that's another thing. FBA and ADOS kind of been going at each other. Now, is this a good thing or is it like, it's like we already got division among us already. And you get two groups that are fundamentally kind of the same, I guess, going at it, causing, Twitter feed, and all, social media buzz. But this says, now listen, it says that there's been some discourse between the FDAs and ADOS, most notably on Twitter, around the lack of clarity of the ADOS movement. See, it said there will be a foundational Black American convention in Atlanta next year, organized by Tariq Nasheed and the Melanoid Nation Foundation. It will be a nonpartisan educational event featuring Black American professionals and a think tank forum. Now, I will say this, man. Even though I think the title is to lure you back, but some of the things that is in this, I have to say, is needed to be done. Now, I don't know if they're the group to do it, but if he's the one that's doing, I mean, like, Tariq does got a little buzz going, and he does know how to. I feel like he does know how to market himself, and his platform is a strong platform. So I do feel like Tariq has a lot of pull in the community, right, if you will. So with that being said, there are some things in this that I have to see where he's going. I mean, the Malinois Nation. Now, what's that? Now, that's interesting. Now, I mean, now, see, because at the end of the day, if you're not claiming some type of national stand, like your own national or your own religious national international organization, that is hopefully it's bringing you back to a time before slavery. Okay, that's the key to bring you back into a fold before slavery. Now, under more science, Noble Drew Ali say from 1776, right? 1776 is when the American declared their so-called so-called sovereignty with Britain, their independence, right? So 1776, he say from 1776 to 1865, those were slaves. Okay, so that's the acknowledgement. From what that sound like, the the FBA is claiming those to be those ones that was from 1776 to 1865. He's claiming those as foundational black. Okay. So that's where I think the difference is. Now it says, but like I said, this melanoid, which I like that, it's a melanoid nation foundation. So I feel like he's trying to go in another direction. Melanoid nation, it's like he's alluding to national or a nation type thing, right? So melanoid is different. I think it's a little different, right? Um, so I won't go all the way in on Tariq yet because I don't know exactly all what his plan is. But based on what he's saying here is that I like kind of what they're talking about. They'll be brainstorming solutions for FDA agenda, right? So strategies on getting reparations, which is always the big thing. Strategies on black business development, creating directories to connect with black businesses, networking with independent black-owned schools, creating discussion panels with black health professionals, and much more. Now, like I said, I don't know what much more mean, but I hope much more mean we're gonna learn more about law, okay? Or they're gonna teach you like more about nationality because having your own national standard is still the key. Now I know that's the cliche, like, oh, okay, we talking about, but what we saying is the key is always to have your own, right? So is the ADOS the name that you want to take to get your own stuff? That's the question, right? Is ADOS because ADOS want to put their name, they want to have their ethnicity on applications. So they're trying to be like some racial identity. So that ties you back into something, but actually it's not. It's tying you back into the United States as your, national government. It's like you a 14th Amendment person still under this. You know what I'm saying? Like you still 14th Amendment citizen under the ADOS. It doesn't seem like it changes your status. Okay. Now, does that make sense to y'all? Does that make sense? What I'm saying is that the ADOS movement does not appear to change your status from 14th Amendment black Negro to color. It doesn't change it. And ADOS is still part of what they call black Negro and color. He's saying those people that were called black Negro and color, we calling ourselves ADOS now. They used to call us African American. They used to call me Afro American. They used to call me a Negro. They used to call me a colored. Those people is what they're claiming. So it's like they're taking colored people and trying to wash them up, okay, under the ADOS title, okay. So now, hold up. So let's keep going. Reparations. Okay, I want y'all to look at this because this is on ABC, man. Let's look at this, y'all. Let's get into this, right? Controversial group ADOS divides Black Americans and fight for economic equality. So now this is ABC, right? Ding, 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 whatever, right? That's NBC maybe, but y'all get what I'm saying. One of them alphabet boys, news channel, right? But let's decipher through ABC News, right? Okay, y'all put your melanin lens on, okay, and read this damn article. All right. It says reparations and the lingering racial wealth gap has been controversial. Conversations largely within the black community, black American. See, so it's the time, black American. Both issues have received wider attention of late, particularly among the current crop of Democratic presidential candidates. Joe Biden. So this is go back, right? So this is all the Democratic presidents except for former Vice President Joe Biden said they support legislation to at least study the issue. I mean, now check this out. Sleepy Joe in there, he said all the Democratic presidential candidates. So we talking about back in what, 2020, except for Joe Biden, said they support legislation. So the one that you put in office, the one homie that you put in office had no support for legislation for the study. Now we don't even want them to study it. Not let alone get it. I ain't for even the study of it. Nonsense. Absurd. Negroes wanting reparations? Absurd. Okay, it says only Marianne Williamson, who recently ended her first reparations. It says, and reparations and black economics have been addressed at some time at some of the recent Democratic debates. So reparations been in the air, right? That's what everybody focused on, and then reparations. It's like, well, what is your like? Is ADOS? I just feel like ADOS is going to we pay ADOS to be ADOS status, right? And what does that status really mean? What does the status of what is the status of an ADOS, y'all? That's what I want to know. Anybody in the chat, man? Anybody know what the hell the status of an ADOS is? If y'all in the building, look, subscribe, like the video, man, share this, man. But I'm asking y'all, what is the status of an ADOS? Like, what are they claiming? They're only good for reparations. ADOS people are they're trying to get reparations. That's the main thing. So it's like, well, okay, well, what are you going to do with the reparations? Is that an individual thing? And are the people going to use it like they need to use it? Like, if you get reparations, are you going to continue to be part of the ADOS and part of America and think that I guess you got the pie and you got the white picket fence and now you're an American citizen, you equal? Or are you going to use that to create your own jurisdiction? Like, are you going to buy a city and create your own jurisdiction or something? Right? I mean, it's ADOS doing that. And if you create your own city, is an ADOS still 14th Amendment? See, these are the questions I really want to know. Is ADOS really is ADOS really what they say they are? Are they really something? Right? I want y'all to know. I mean, check y'all post say something in the comments, man. What do y'all think that's going on, man, in the FBA? Do you feel like there are diversions? Because, like I say, I ain't even got into the Moor stuff yet, man. I mean, like, I'm not like we already know what's that. Look, this is my question. This is my question, right? ADOS nor FBA have any treaty. Okay. Now, whether you like it or not, whatever your religious affiliation is, one thing that we can say that there is a treaty of peace and friendship that mentions groups called Moors in that treaty. They are particularly to say Moors in the treaty. And that there is record that there have been people who are considered African slaves that were known to be called a Moor or went to legislation to be put on record as Moor. So we have these things on record. And that name Moor does delude back to a time before slavery. Now, my question is, and I challenge anybody out here in these streets to tell me that ADOS or the FBA has any treaty with any country with that title, FBA or ADOS. Do you think that ADOS or FBA got a treaty with anybody saying that they have certain privileges or immunities in a different jurisdiction? Do you think that that's what ADOS or FBA has? Now, like I said, as far as some of the things I think they're doing on the political side, I can't really knock it all the way. But what I'm saying is, when I look at the FBAs and the ADOS, and I try to compare the two to like Moorish as a Moor title, I mean, just historically in itself, it doesn't seem to match. We've already said that FBA don't go back to 1500s. The FBA go back to 1526. ADOS go back pretty much to 17 1600s themselves. They don't really say particularly exactly, but when you're talking about slavery, they have to go into a time when they first came over here and were enslaved. So those people in the ADOS community have to believe that anybody who was captured in slavery and was enslaved in the United States and endured American slavery, those are the ones who are titled ADOS. And for real, y'all, black people, so-called black people, have done nothing but been transferred from one commercial property to another commercial property. Okay, what I mean by that, these colorable titles y'all going by. Okay, they don't like all the titles that they're using don't delude to anything past a slave time. Don't you understand that? Being a black doesn't tie you back to any culture. There's nobody there's nobody else calling themselves black. Nobody was calling themselves black in the 14, 15, 1600s. Nobody was calling themselves black. They didn't relate color of black to skin tone in that way. So it wasn't until slavery that they created these titles to slaves. It's like they gave these slaves these titles because they had stripped them of their natural birthright. They had stripped them of their natural birthright. And so they gave them this artificial title that had no tie back to the Constitution. You didn't have nationality. Blacks didn't have nationality until they got some form of something with the 14th Amendment in 1868. You get some forms of citizenship, right? So I want to know, y'all in the building, man. Who know, man? Anybody, y'all like the video, share this video. What group of ADOS or FBA got some treaty? Does Tariq Nasheed? And I would ask him, y'all ask Tariq, man, if he has a treaty with the United States, or does he have a treaty with any other nationality? Okay. And I would ask him, how does nationality relate and tie into into the FBA? How does nationality and any of them things tie into ADOS or nationality? Y'all get at me, man. What y'all think? What y'all think, man? Huh? Let's look at this. Let's look at reparations. Because the thing about reparations is, if melanated people want reparations, they need to be tied to something. As far as they need to be tied to something besides being a U.S. citizen. They have to have two parts of it. So they're American, but they're what? What American? Are you African descendant American? What does that mean? Like, what does African mean? That means that you couldn't have been an African. Is saying that I could be from anywhere in Africa and been brought over here and been enslaved. And that group of people had that common background they had makes them a new type of person. That's what it made. It, like, when they did that, they created a new person. Anyway, let's look at this. Reparations in the U.S. has never gained widespread public support. Often in these conversations, the white reaction is to claim that this is a form of unjustifiable reverse racism. On that demands for reparation are an example of black refusal to move beyond the memory of slavery. Now that's key right there. All right, y'all. That's key right there, man. I just want y'all to understand what they're saying. They telling us that Albion, so-called white people, feel like, right? They feel like, you guys need to move on. That was so long ago, right? Right? So, in one sense, they're saying, hey, y'all need to let go of slavery. But in the same token, on the same side, on the other side of the coin, that's all they feed you. All they do is feed you slavery stuff, right? Not really allowing you to move on. So it's kind of keeping you in this cycle that you are descendant of slaves and that is you, that you are them. It says that in a 2020 poll from Washington Post shows 63% of Americans don't think the U.S. should pay reparations. Okay, 63% of Americans say they should don't think the U.S. should pay reparations to the descendants of slaves. Most of the people saying, nah, we're not giving no money to them. But they say notably, of course, like hell, 82% of black Americans support it. They say while 75% of white Americans do not. Arguments behind also to highlight complications behind reparations, such as not all black Americans are descendants of slaves, or that people alive today are not responsible for the harms of society. Others still argue that reparations will do nothing in the face of racism, and that structural and policy changes would be more effective. Okay, so policy changes, structural and policy changes would be more effective. What you guys think in the bill? Do you think that policy changes are more effective? I mean, I do, right? I think that I do think that policy would be more effective than reparations because I don't think that people would use the money right. I mean, come on, man. We already seen the Chappelle skit. I mean, and it was funny, but it was the truth. It's like, what are these people going to do with their money, and what is ADOS going to do with their money? And like I said, ADOS or FBA, are they going to create? Are they going to be able to create protection, or is just fundamentally to get reparations? Like, let's get this money. And once we get this money, then what? What is that going to leave us? And that's what I'm saying. Like, what does that leave your status? Because if you don't understand that black, Negro, color status is a 14th Amendment creation, if you don't understand that, and that's all you living under, then that's what the ADOS is for. That's what FBA is for. It's for those African American people who have no, they don't have anything. They're not tied to being a Moor. They're not tied to being indigenous. And so for them, they'll be ADOS. They can be an FBA. Okay. Like I say, indigenous people uh, and Moors alike are looking to create their own independence by their titles alone, taking themselves out of those like colorable titles. Okay. So, like I said, I think to me, really, that this might be something, a trick. Like, this might be for people who are already ahead of the game, for people who understand nationality, birthright, who are Moorish American or American Moors or indigenous Moors or anything of the like, right? I think these people, I'm right there, are not on that. That this ADOS and FBA stuff is like elementary in its approach to how you claim yourself and your status. Okay. Now, I think there's a lot of disorganization in the conscious community movement, which causes the conscious movement not to actually organize on the level that they need to. And so people like Tariq Nasheed having the money, organizational skills, okay, having a name out here, having some skin in the game, if you will. Tariq Nasheed has the potential to take what he's doing and really get it across because it does appeal to the status quo. Okay, it does appeal to the status quo black, so-called black Negro colored person. To an NBC, as we call them. I think that Tyreek and them is appealing to them. And I get it, man. It's like they're the majority of the people. And so you think that if you can get something for them, that would help. So, I mean, I'm not mad at it, but I just wish that for where it come from, that it doesn't have the substance. It's kind of like Black Lives Matter. You got, I mean, what is like Black Lives Matter got all that money and resources, but they really haven't done anything for the black community as a whole. And they got caught with having big ass houses and all that crap. All the owners. So I mean, like y'all claiming this black stuff is not it, in my opinion. I'm not trying to diss Tyreek or none of that because at the end of the day, I know that he's looked at Moors and he's probably seen nigga probably seen the disorganization and he probably seen the stigma that Moors have on the community because sometimes Moors are put in a negative light. So because you got a lot of people out here doing things, trying to figure out stuff and legally, and they really get themselves tangled up, listening to all this stuff. And so they the ones that get the bad look on Moors and get us called dirty Moors and things of that nature. But the truth of the matter is the ADOS, and like I said, look, y'all, I know brothers and I know people in the ADOS movement, right? And they're intelligent brothers, right? They see something in that, but I'm gonna tell you something. At the end of the day, if you guys are not looking to create space between you and the state, if you guys are not creating that space, that lack of contact from the state to you, okay, to turn your status from being looked at as just a slave, right? Because you got ancestors that go back further than eight. Come on, man, y'all got ancestors that go back beyond 1500, 1400. What was they doing? Who were you before this all happened? That's what is being covered up. That this is what the indigenous people are saying. Because you got indigenous people saying that we were already here. And we were already here. On our own accord. Not because we were slaves. Okay. We had come over here hundreds of years prior to European colonization of America. It's been shown that we showed them how to get here. The conquistador, when they talk about the Spanish people, who showed the Spaniards to get here? Who, if you were Spanish, you were ruled by Moors. If you were Spanish, you were ruled by Moors at some point. So it's hard to just, man, like it's hard to just settle with 1526. That's where I start. I'm claiming to be a black slave. Then I'm still part of that black slavery. I have never reclaimed my title of nobility. I have never reclaimed my status of nationality. It was never reclaimed. Your heritage has never been claimed. That role of ADOS is not culture. It's like, what is it? It definitely is a political movement. it's something to look at and see what's going on. Stay tuned. But my question to y'all is this: is that money of reparations enough for you to change your title to ADOS? If ADOS got money, are you gonna claim to be an ADOS because they got trillions of dollars? That's the question I got for y'all. That's the question I got for y'all. Right? Man, y'all got any questions, man? Try to put up in the building, man. Like and subscribe, but let's get into some questions, man. What is it? What are y'all thoughts on this, man? What are y'all thoughts on the FBA and ADOS, man? Are they worth the time? Is it a good thing? Are they doing something good for the people of the melanated people in America, or are they really cutting us short? Are we selling ourselves further into the abyss? Are they trying to make us reaffirm our status once again as slave? That's my question. Are the ADOS and the FBI, and the FBA, are they making you reclaim your title of slavery? I'm just asking y'all. I'm just asking. All right. So let's go on. Let's go on. Let's see what else. Like, okay, like we said, what was the question? This is what I want to go into, because this is what it really boiled down to. This is the question you must really ask yourself. Titles of slavery or badges of slavery. There is a term. Y'all look up badges of slavery. Badges of slavery. There are certain titles that you take, okay? A status. The badge of slavery is a particular status. It is not a well status. Having the badge of slavery is like a brand on you. Okay. So, like, if you get branded, that's letting you know who you really are. So there are certain titles that are considered badges of slavery. My question is, do you think that the FBA and ADOS are badges of slavery based on what you've heard? Based on what we have gone over, would you think that ADOS and the FBA are titles of slavery or badges of slavery? Now think about it. We using the title badges of slavery, and in both of their terminologies, they are descendants of slavery. So are they taking on the badges of slavery? And are they taking on the badges of slavery in order to try to push for reparations? Okay. Are they using badges of slavery to push for reparations? Do y'all hear me, man? Yo, I'm over here. Yada, 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 right? Yada, yada, yada. But look, I'm asking y'all these questions because as a Moor, I am taught, I have learned to look at color in a whole different way. Okay. Now, and I want to, and this is something else I want to say. A lot of times we want to compare Moors to Arab, and we get into this conversation about Arabs and so-called black Moors getting into conflict with the indigenous Africans to the West Africans. There's a lot of talk about, them conquering the lands, Timbuktu, these things of that, siding with the Arabs. Yes, the Moors sided with the Arabs. Yes, the Moors did. It is what it is. They sided with the Arabs, okay, to fight off and to conquer what was left of Rome, okay, for them to get a piece of the pie. And they were successful at it. And were they part of building slavery in the United States? Well, they had some ties into slavery. Okay, I mean we get that. Okay, I just want y'all to know that Moors may have done some things, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they Moors, that they were around before what we call Negro, Black, and Colored. Like we were Moors in some sense, and then we kind of like got knocked into being Black, Negro, and Black, and Colored. It's like we were Moors because a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of Moors were sold into slavery first. Moors were sold into slavery. There was violations of nationality. See, the thing about it is, enslavement robbed you of your nationality, of your citizenship. It gave you no sovereignty. You were told the opposite of sovereignty as a slave or under that term. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I don't got it up here, but in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, it makes a distinction between a slave and a prisoner, if you will. A prisoner is somebody who got a nationality. A prisoner was somebody who could get out of being a prisoner. They could be paid with money and bought out of slavery. Not, I mean, out of being a prisoner. They could be taken and ransomed, if you will. Ransomed is the word. A prisoner is ransomed. A slave has no bearing, has no rights. So they're saying, what you're saying as an ADOS is, I'm taking on the title of something who had no rights. Because I'm a descendant of those people who had no rights. I know it sounds crazy, but what I'm saying is, when you saying you one of those, you are saying that I come under 14th Amendment. Just like, so what I'm saying is, let's break it down like this. ADOS and FBA only give you civil rights. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I'm lying, I'm flying. But look, an FBA can only give you civil rights. So what is civil rights? Right? Civil rights is only dealing with the United States. If you got if you got human rights, you're talking about from an international perspective. You're talking about from the United Nations perspective. Okay. So being an ADOS or FBA is only keeping you under civil rights. So I mean, like I'm saying, these are just things that I'm trying to like bestow to people when they're trying to understand how to move with different so-called black organizations. If you become part of a certain black organization, like I said, I mean, like if you look at Black Lives Matter, if you become part of Black Lives Matter, you are being black. Now, like I said, y'all, black is a color, man. So when you are coming under that color as a black, right, that you are creating that badge of slavery. You are generating the badge of slavery. So when you go before any court of law or you go before any of these legal people, when you talk about Congress, congressional, you're talking about even judicial, anytime you're going in there, you are under black. You are under a certain badge of slavery. And there's laws for badges of slavery that tie you back to 14th Amendment, tie you back to federal law. You have no bearing on anything else. That's where, and that's all I'm saying, y'all, is that I feel like we have to inspect ADOS and FBA. We need to inspect them. We need to look at our history. Like we deserve to go back as further as we can. We deserve, as melanated beings on this planet, even in the United States, as melanated people, we deserve our history to go back a millenniums, to go back hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of years. Okay? Like, And I mean that from the indigenous American side to the Moorish African side. We got. I mean, like I'm gonna get off here in a minute, man. But these divisions that are being created by us and them are happening on so many different levels. I mean, because you got the indigenous movement kind of going against the Moors and the Afrocentric movement, and then you got the ADOS and the FBA kind of going against the Moorish movement, kind of going against sovereign understanding movements. Okay, going against the indigenous because, like I said, the FBA and them they're only talking about one group of people in the United States. They're only talking about U.S. citizens. So if you're Caribbean or if you claiming to be Native American, they're saying, well, as foundational Black Americans, we mix with y'all Native Americans. So that's why there's Black Native Americans. You know, or let's not say that some of those foundational Black Americans were slaves to the Native Americans. I mean, because we know what Cherokee, Choctaw, and all the five civilized nations had slaves. So them slaves were foundational Black Americans. Okay, according to FBA. So I'm just saying, man, like we gotta study a little bit more. There's not enough law in those organizations for me to really put my trust in it. Their title alone is telling me that they don't understand their status and nobility. That they'd rather focus. It's like they'd rather focus on reparations than to actually create a rightful title of nobility to the people. And like I said, like Tariq Nasheed, I don't know why, like where, like he came from Moors. Like when you watch his documentaries, Hidden Colors, right? You watch Hidden Colors, he's talking about Moors really in his first video, which is probably the one that most people have seen, is that first Hidden Colors. And in that Hidden Colors, he talk about Moors. He talk about how, he got all these different scholars on there talking about Moors. So when he was doing that, he went back further than 1526. Now it's like Tariq Nasheed is dealing on 1526 in that Saturn. He ain't even talking about the Moors. He ain't saying nothing about the Moors. Like he kind of like I watched I've watched Tariq Nasheed videos. Like I said, he got a nice platform, but I've heard him talking against the Moors, man, and not like he said the Moors nah, that ain't it, that ain't it. But he coming with this FBA stuff, man. So I'm just wondering, like, has he thought it through on the national on the legal side? Because at this point, we looking at ourselves as international protected person. We looking at ourselves in a class that's protected by the United States because of our status, not not to become part of a slave status and try to work our way through the government that way. Like I said, anytime you dilute into slavery, you talk about 1776 to 1865. That's what you're talking about. I think that they're going backwards because I mean, like, look, Noble Drew Ali, he basically was like, look, if y'all was slaves, y'all originally was Moors. I can show you that y'all was Moors by showing you stuff, showing you a history that go before colonialism. Noble Drew Ali is showing melanated people that they went back before colonialism, and that was in 1920s. That was in the 1920s, and now we're talking about in 2025. We talking about damn it 100 years later. 100 years later, after Noble Drew Ali said we were not 14th Amendment, that we were Moors, and that Moors tied back to lands of Africa and to land in a relationship to American. And now we give that up to be an ADOS, black, a foundational black. Please like and subscribe. I'm just saying, what is that? What's going on, y'all? I want y'all to think about that. So I'm gonna get up out of here though, man. Peace and love, y'all. Um, until next time, I'm gonna catch up with y'all. All right, Tuta Nana.